afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Fantasy Philosophy. How you doing? We got Pete, Kev, Mike, and myself, Paul, ready to give you some buy or sell action for week 9, okay? Let's get right into it this week. No bullshit, all right? I don't want to hear any promotions. I don't want to hear who we are, where we're from. Let's just get right into it. Let's give them some fantasy football knowledge, all right? Let's go. This past week, Patriots trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the San Francisco 49ers. Pete, you buying him or you selling him?
Why am I going to buy a backup quarterback going to probably the worst team in the league with a terrible schedule coming up? So I'm not buying him. I'm not selling him. I'm not putting him on my roster. So that's how I look at it.
All right.
Guys, Jimmy Garoppolo is a star in this league. He will be a star. He was mentored by a GOAT. But at this point, you should not be buying him. He's a waiver pickup. He might not even play this week or maybe the entire season. He's not ready. He's got to learn the offense. Now's not a good time for him. I would stay away.
I agree with Kev. I would try to stay away from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's going to do anything this year. Of course, I have him on my team because he's Jimmy Garoppolo and he's the best quarterback in the league. But if you look at his stats up until now, he has one of the better QBRs to start off an NFL season in history. Right now, his QBR is 106.2. He has 5 touchdowns and no picks. I mean, we haven't really seen a lot from him.
Through 2.5 games.
Yeah, we saw a few games when Brady was suspended, but it's not a bad start. I think he definitely has potential. Probably not this year. I do think he's going to be playing at some point this season, even though Kyle Shanahan said that he wasn't. I just don't see how this could allow their team to keep tanking. Might as well see what they have from the quarterback. That way, going into the draft, they can see if they have to get another quarterback, if they're just going to stick with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Definitely.
I mean, if you have an empty spot on your bench, he might be a good guy to have towards the end of the year, going into like the playoffs. He might be a plug in and play when big players start sitting for for the teams that have been clinched. But besides that, I would stay away from him.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, he's definitely someone to stash and keep an eye on going forward. Let's keep on the theme of the traded players this week. Another big trade. Philadelphia Eagles trade a 4th-round pick for the Miami Dolphins running back Jay Ajayi. Now, obviously, Ajayi's had a rough time in Miami. Still trying to get on. He never gets it going, and now he's traded to Philadelphia where they have LeGarrette Blount, Wendell Smallwood, and Clement, the rookie. So if you have him on your lineup or if you're interested in learning more about him, what is your tactics here? What is your strategy with Jay Ajayi? Are you buying him or are you selling him?
I'm selling him fast. In Miami, he's been getting a lot of work over there. He's had 138 attempts already. He only had 465 yards. His longest run was only for 21 yards, and that was this past week against the Ravens. He's not going to get that volume in Philly. I doubt he's going to get any goal line work. LeGarrette Blount's going to get all the short yardage and goal line. Maybe in a couple weeks he'll start getting early down, but I don't think he's going to get all of the early down either way. So I'm going to try to sell him as fast as you can. Don't even try to get too much for him because I don't think anybody's going to really give you the boat for him.
Yeah.
I would definitely leave him on my bench for now at least, but Jay Ajayi does not look good going forward.
All right, what do you think, Kev?
As an NFL franchise, you don't make a trade for a Pro Bowl running back to jump him into a 3-man running back rotation. Jay Ajayi was on probably one of the worst offenses in the league. They had a poor offensive line. The Eagles have the 5th most rush yards per game in the NFL. Jay Ajayi is a 3-down back. He's a Pro Bowler. His value is going up. You don't sell him yet. Maybe he'll have a couple bad games, or maybe he'll turn into a star in that superb offense with Carson Wentz. The only thing that concerns me is LeGarrette Blount maybe taking some goal line carries and red zone carries. That could be a concern. But I think down the stretch, Jay has potential to turn into that featured back on a great Philly offense. You definitely don't sell him yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty surprising that the 7-1 Eagles would go and trade for a Pro Bowl running back at this time. But I'm with you. I'm gonna wait and see what he has. But at this time, if I had to choose, I would try to buy him low. See, maybe the owner is like thinking like you, and they want to get rid of him. So I would try to buy him in this occasion. But again, I would wait and see. What do you think, Pete?
I agree with you and Kev. I would buy because he's coming from an offense that couldn't pass the ball the offensive line is just, obviously, as we've seen, they cannot protect for anything. I mean, the quarterback gets hurt and goes down. They can't even protect him. And he's going to an offensive line now in the Eagles where, they're the top line in the league. And, Blunt, he's a big guy. We saw a lot from last year that hasn't really transitioned to this year. So, you got a guy, Jay Ajayi, and a team, as you said, 7-1, obviously making this is their statement saying we're going all the way. We're getting the pieces that we're missing. We're taking what we need and we're going. They're gonna run with it. And I think Ajayi he's not gonna get the 20 carries a game because there's too many backs. But I think you can eliminate Smallwood and Clement right out of the gate because, maybe Smallwood would be involved in the passing game still a little bit, but Clement I don't see him doing anything, and Blunt definitely takes a hit because Ajayi is definitely the most talented back on that team immediately. So I'm going to buy him, and I think he's at his lowest point. So I think it's easiest to get him right now.
Yeah, definitely. So keep an eye on Jay Ajayi. See if you can make some moves and try to grab him, maybe try to sell him also. So the next guy that got traded, Kelvin Benjamin, gets traded to the Buffalo Bills. Not so much of a high-powered offense, but Tyrod Taylor has looked good lately, and they haven't really had that number one wide receiver since they got rid of Sammy Watkins. So, Kev, what do you think? You're going to buy him after this trade, or you're going to sell him?
I would buy him. I'm not sold on Benjamin's ability as a wide receiver. He lacks a little top end speed, but he is a great red zone target and a GOAT wideout. And the Buffalo Bills have the fewest amount of receptions and yards for wide receivers in the NFL.
Wow.
McCoy is their leading receiver. He has the most receptions, and then Charles Clay, who's out. Kelvin Benjamin's a big red zone threat. He's going to help Tyrod out. I would hang on to him for a couple more weeks, see how he does, see how he puts out for the Bills.
I actually have Kelvin Benjamin on my team. I'm definitely not going to play him this week. They already said, the coaches said that he has a 50-50 shot at playing. And even if he does play, he doesn't know the playbook right now. He got on the team yesterday. 2 days later, he's going to be playing a game. He's not going to be doing much.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
If it was Sunday.
Yeah, you would consider it, but I would still leave him on the bench. Right. The only situation where they might throw him in is maybe a goal line fade because it's just a simple route.
He has a decoy.
But yeah, he's an in and out guy at least for this week, maybe even next week. I'm not really trying to sell him. I don't think this trade really affects him too much. Carolina wasn't really using him to a high voltage. He only had 32 receptions on the year. He had 51 targets. He had 475 yards, and he only had 2 touchdowns. This 6'5" giant receiver only had 2 touchdowns. The leading receiver on the Panthers was Christian McCaffrey. So, you see that something's wrong there. I think the Bills could at least replicate what they were doing in Carolina with Kelvin Benjamin, if not get better.
Okay. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I agree. As soon as I saw this trade go down, the first thing that popped into my mind is Sammy Watkins. Like Kelvin will be that Sammy Watkins, what he was for the Bills and what he was for Tyrod Taylor. That big body, not too quick, but he's a big red zone threat. And I could see as soon as he steps in that door, him and Tyrod just, melding together very quickly. And, he'll definitely, with the production that he had on the Panthers, you can't expect it to go down. Because, it hasn't been too well. So, the only way he's going to go is up for me. And a better offense, I think the Bills have a better offense with a better running back, actual run game. Because, the Panthers don't actually run the ball well. They just dump it to the backs. Yeah. And Tyrod Taylor, who's had himself a good year, and he's only going to get better, I think Kelvin's a buy for me.
Okay. All right, awesome. So, talk about Kelvin. Now, let's talk about the guy who he just left. All right, had a pretty rough game against Tampa Bay, 154 yards and a touchdown. Game before that, only 211 yards. Not really having great fantasy days lately. Cam Newton, are you buying him or are you selling him without his top weapon, Kelvin Benjamin?
I would buy him low. And personally, I also have Cam Newton on my team. And I'm not really trying to sell him. I don't think, like I just said, the Kelvin Benjamin trade doesn't really affect him that much. He wasn't really using him that much. Kelvin Benjamin only had over 5 receptions in 2 games. So that shows you that he's not really relying on Kelvin Benjamin. If you go back a couple of years, Kelvin Benjamin was out a whole season, and Cam Newton was the MVP of the league. So he knows how to, get around without Kelvin Benjamin. I don't think this hurts him at all. I don't think it makes him better. It's just Cam Newton's the same Cam Newton that we've had for this whole season. I think he gets He's going to start getting his points up a little bit. He had 2 bad weeks in a row. I think he's going to have a decent week this week coming up.
Okay.
But I would try to buy him if possible.
All right. What do you
Definitely
think,
don't sell him.
And I'm with Mike. I actually think that his value went up. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, I know there's a lot of question. That's our number one wideout. Why are we getting rid of Kelvin Benjamin? But like Mike said, in 2015, Kelvin didn't play. Cam had the MVP year. You know who the leading wide receiver was on that team? Ted Ginn Jr. He had 10 touchdowns and 800 yards. That team lacks top-end speed. If you look at their wide receiving core, they got Funches and Kelvin. When's the last time we saw like a big play this year for the Panthers? Like, I don't mean like a jump ball in the end zone. I mean like throw a screen or like a slant and the kid takes it to the house like 60 yards. They lack top-end speed, and I think that's why they made that trade. They're going to get Curtis Samuel involved and that Shepard kid. And I think there's going to be a little more production coming out of the Panthers offense. And I would definitely keep Cam, if not sell him high.
Okay. I would buy him. I mean, he's got a pretty good schedule coming down to the playoffs. He's got Atlanta, Miami, then a bye. Then he's got the Jets, the Saints, plays Minnesota, and then he's got Green Bay and Tampa Bay. So he's got a pretty good playoff schedule, a pretty good schedule that if you really need someone to jumpstart your team, I think if you have 3 wins or 4 wins right now, I would go out and grab Cam Newton to try to help him jumpstart your team because he's a guy that can go out and get you over 20 points a week and even have that big 30-point game on occasion. So I would go buy him if I was you. What would you do, Pete?
Yeah, me too. I would buy. I mean, he's definitely at his lowest point after coming off a 7.5 standard, 7.4 points, and then 12.6 against a terrible defense, Tampa Bay. And then he loses his number 1 target. Of course, the owner of him. Mike's a smart owner, but if you're a normal owner that doesn't really, think as deep as we're digging right now, you're going to want to sell him. So it's going to be easier to buy him now with that easy schedule you talked about, especially coming into the playoffs. The only scary team on that whole schedule is Minnesota, and that's week 14, which, you could deal with because the rest of the guys are easy. But like Kev said, Curtis Samuel, he'll definitely emerge. And you're not going to trade somebody unless you know what you got. They got Funches. He's definitely coming into his own. He's definitely in his prime right now. Ed Dixon has looked good, and we know Cam likes him. They got a good relationship. Russell Shepard, as Kev said, there's still weapons in that team that just haven't been able to show what they have. And we're going to see what they have, and I think Cam Newton is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt. They did it for a reason. Their offense was extremely one-dimensional. They had these 2 big guys who didn't have much speed.
Right.
Now they're going to incorporate Shepard and Samuel and probably get some deep plays, I think. So look
you
for
don't
Cam.
make a trade to get worse,
Exactly.
especially in the Panthers' position. They're not tanking at all, So they definitely know what they're
No,
doing.
they're definitely playoff contenders.
Yeah.
I think they
know
are
what
going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I actually am excited to see Christian McCaffrey, too. I think he's going to try to get more catches, get more involved in the offense,
I'm
too.
sure
So-
he'll remain the leading
Target
receiver,
guy.
but
Yeah. All right, so after going through a lot of these trades, trying to, figure out what to do with the trades, now we're going to look ahead to kind of, this is kind of a time where you're either pushing hard for the playoffs or you're just on the cusp of, falling apart, falling down, and missing the playoffs. So you got to make some moves now. So we got our panel up here. Everybody put together a buy candidate that you should go and get right now, make the trades, and a sell candidate, some guy that you should sell right now immediately and get as much value from him as possible. All right, so let's try to go through it. And Pete, let's start with you. Let's hear your buy candidate. We'll do the buys, and then we'll do the sells.
All right, well, my buy candidate is somebody he's been well, and he was unexpected. Nobody really expected him to come on like he has. He's a slot receiver on the Eagles, Nelson Aguilar, and his quarterback is probably the best in the league.
MVP
I mean, he's
candidate,
up there
yeah.
with Deshaun Watson, my guy. But I definitely like him going forward. He had a bad week against San Francisco, which is a horrible defense, so you can tell that to the owner. How does he get 3 catches for 26 yards against a terrible defense?
Yeah.
So you can tell that to the owner. And the thing about him is the schedule doesn't matter. He's got Denver, which no big deal. He's the third receiver in that offense because he plays in the slot. So nobody's really going to give him the attention that he deserves. And he's that sneaky play. In standard, he's the 10th receiver in fantasy. I mean, that's great if you can get him low after getting a 2.6 against San Francisco.
Kev, what about you?
We're selling right now or we're buying?
We're buying.
We're buying. If you can afford to, you buy Ezekiel Elliott with the suspension. If you're a team that has a good record, moving forward, you give that person who has Zeke, who has a void in his running back slot. Maybe you give him an RB2 or a flex running back, and maybe another wideout on top of that, and you stash Zeke on your bench and wait till the playoffs, and then come the playoffs, if you're still in it, boom, I think you're set. If you can afford it.
Yeah. I think you definitely got to be, you
got to manage it correctly.
Right. All right, Mike, what do you got?
I hate to be staying on the Panthers so much, but you have to be buying into Christian McCaffrey, especially now that Kelvin Benjamin is not there. He's probably going to be lining up as the wide receiver 2 a lot. Jonathan Stewart's going to be lining up as he has been for most of the year. He's going to be lining up as the running back. He's going to be getting a lot of carries. He's not going to do anything with it. But McCaffrey's going to be lining up outside. He's going to be lining up inside. He's going to get a lot of looks. He's already leading the team in receptions, and he's going to get even more. He already has 2 touchdowns receiving on the season, like Kelvin Benjamin. Yeah. I think he's going to get a lot more going forward. He's my top buy, and I'm going to try to get him as fast as possible on my team, because I think very soon he's going to break out and he's going to be the guy to have on your team.
All right, Mike, why don't you send it back? Give us your top sell
now. My top sell is actually DeMarco Murray. He's been decent up to this point, but he hasn't been electric like he has been for the past few years. Derrick Henry's getting a lot more involved. He has 32 carries on the year for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns just in the last 2 weeks. So they're starting to get Derrick Henry a lot more involved in their offense. DeMarco Murray's going down a little bit, but I think sometime within the next couple weeks, you should try to sell DeMarco Murray high if you can. If not, you're going to keep him, but I think Derrick Henry going forward is going to start getting more involved, and he's going to get a lot more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, even last year when DeMarco Murray had that crazy season, he also, towards the last 4 or 5 games, his production went down a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, I can only imagine now what his production will be towards the end of the year. So, I think that's a great sell. Yeah. But if you're selling, if you can, maybe go and get Derrick Henry. I think he'll be the great replacement, and he'll be that guy for the end of the season. Kev, what's your sell?
For me, and I hate to say it because this is my guys, this is my keeper coming into the year, I would sell Jordy Nelson, or really any wide receiver on the Packers as of now. Right now, Jordy's a top 15 guy. I don't know how Hundley and that offense has been, making progress throughout. They had this bye week, but if I'm an owner and I have Jordy Nelson on my team, I would sell him now. Maybe get some good value out of him, because you don't know what's going to happen with that offense. If they blow it the next few weeks, Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back to play. They're not making a playoff run, so I would sell the Packers wide receivers.
I just got to say, I'm not panicking on the Packers offense just yet.
Not yet. Give it a couple more weeks.
It was Hundley's, he played 1 game so far?
Yeah.
Started 1 game in full so far. I'm not panicking on him. Even Deshaun Watson, when he came in for his first half a game, he threw 2 picks right off the bat. And then when he came in the game after that, then he was a star.
Yeah, we're not panicking yet.
Don't panic.
But 2 more weeks.
If you get good value, obviously you want to trade one of these Packers. But don't panic on them. I would try to hold them for at least another 2 weeks.
Yeah, this definitely reminds me of when Tampa Bay Buccaneers had that bye the week 1, and you were an owner of Doug Martin. You had to wait an extra week to see. Not to see, but he was suspended for those 3 weeks, and now you had to wait another week. And that time period, you didn't know if he was going to be a star or if he was going to be a bust. So it's kind of like we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's where the Jordy Nelson comes in. Yeah. So you're not sure if he's going to continue to be his self, be Jordy Nelson, or if he's going to fall by the wayside. So, if you need to get some value, I think now is the time.
Now is the time, because you could have a huge drop off next week, and then what? You just
it's a risk to trade him now, and it's a risk to wait and trade him. So you got to decide how much risk you can handle. Yeah.
Another thing is when Rodgers would make those plays, Jordy would leak out. It wouldn't be a designed, touchdown or big play. It would be Rodgers making a move in the pocket, Jordy going off the route that he's supposed to be running with that chemistry, and then he gets that little touchdown in the corner or that little out route, and he takes it all away. Hundley's not going to be able to do the things that Rodgers would do.
Yeah,
neither is any quarterback.
Definitely. So definitely keep an eye on that game. All right, Pete, let's get yourself.
So my sell, somebody had talked about our last video, our last podcast. He's been producing well, at least for a couple of weeks. He had a down week against Minnesota, Alex Collins for the Ravens, because first of all, Danny Woodhead has been spotted on the practice field. So, he can't come back until I think week 11 it is, because he's on the IR. But he'll be back soon. We got Buck Allen still there, splitting carries with him. As we saw last week, he got 18 carries. He got 19 carries, Alex Collins, and Buck Allen got 18. So, and then we also have Terrence West coming off an injury. So that's a potential four-headed monster at running back. And he's somebody that if you watched and if you follow his points, you would say, wow, this guy's done well. You know, he might be the bell cow back. But he's really not, and he's got a tough schedule coming up. The next 3 out of 4 games for him are top 10 rushing defenses, and this is the best time to sell him. And I think it'll just be a headache going forward if you keep him and roll the dice with him.
All right, sweet. So there you go. There you have it. There's our buy or sells for Week 9. Be sure to continue to check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Twitter at FNTSY Philosophy. Mike, Kev, Pete, thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.